Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Our goal is always to cut through the noise, giving you the fastest route to true understanding.
And today we are really getting into something foundational.
We're taking a deep dive into Chapter 2 of Acts, a personal study journey by Pastor Chinyere Olujide, who we'll just call Pastor Chi.
Right. This chapter is titled When Heaven Touches Earth, and it zeroes in on the day of Pentecost.
Which is arguably the most critical pivot point in the early church. It's the moment where all the waiting, all the anticipation, it just explodes into reality.
And what's so fascinating is the lens she brings to it. She sees it as a strategic plan.
Exactly. She doesn't just treat it like a historical story.
Yeah.
She pulls out an organizational blueprint for massive sustainable growth.
So our mission today is to unpack her analysis of that. We're talking timing, communication, spiritual awareness, and the actual commitments that let a mission scale globally.
That organizational focus is absolutely key. It's not just about the miracle, but the methodology behind the miracle.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's unpack this, starting with what she calls divine timing at its finest. She immediately highlights how precise this whole event was.
Yes, she focuses on that phrase, when the day of Pentecost had fully come.
It suggests this wasn't random at all.
Not at all. It wasn't an arbitrary Tuesday. God had orchestrated the circumstances. I mean, the Feast of Pentecost itself was the mechanism.
A holy day that brought, as the text says,
Yeah.
devout Jews from every nation under heaven to Jerusalem.
And this is Pastor Chi's crucial observation. These people were not just tourists passing through.
No.
They were spiritually attentive, devoted, and they were required by religious law to go back home soon after.
So it's like a massive, organic focus group and distribution network all in one.
Exactly. This wasn't just for Jerusalem's benefit. She calls it God's strategic launch pad for the global gospel. It guaranteed the witnesses were immediately sent out across the entire known world.
That is just an astounding level of strategic positioning. And it completely challenges how we think about waiting, right?
Oh, absolutely. We see delays as stagnation, as denial.
Especially when we feel like we're ready to go.
And that leads to her most powerful takeaway here, I think. She says, his delays aren't denials, they're divine appointments waiting to unfold.
Wow. If you apply that to your own life or your organization, it changes everything.
It does. That slow season might actually be a season of strategic alignment. God could be waiting for the right people, the right moment, the right global intersection to happen.
It just reframes the whole anxiety around impatience.
Yeah.
If the delay is actually preparation, then the waiting itself becomes productive.
Right. But that impact required the disciples to be ready.
Yeah, right before the event, the text says they were all with one accord in one place.
And that phrase, with one accord, she argues it was a prerequisite.
So not just a nice to have.
No, a necessity. The Holy Spirit didn't fall on scattered, distracted individuals or, a committee fighting over details. He fell on a unified, synchronized community.
That's a great point, but I have to ask, is there a danger in demanding that kind of unity? Doesn't one accord sometimes just stamp out healthy disagreement?
It's a fair question, but she makes a key distinction. This unity wasn't enforced from the top down. It was cultivated.
Well, cultivated how?
Through shared waiting, shared prayer, and shared anticipation over weeks. It's the difference between, say, organizational compliance and real communal synergy. This was a deep spiritual alignment that got them ready to move together when the moment finally struck.
Okay, that makes sense. So that unity sets the stage for the breakthrough itself, the miracle of communication.
And this is where that strategic global focus just kicks into high gear, the intentionality of the miracle of tongues.
Right, a sound comes, fire settles, and then the communication that happens is not random at all.
No. It was custom designed to reach every single person there in the way they could understand it best. I mean, the list of places is staggering. Parthians, Medes, Elamites, Mesopotamia, Judea, Cappadocia, Egypt.
All of them hearing the wonderful works of God in their native tongue.
In their native tongue. That's
Yeah.
profound.
God spoke their languages, plural. The method was tailored to bypass every single cultural and linguistic barrier.
Absolutely. Which leads to the really challenging question Pastor Chi asks us to consider. Am I speaking in ways that connect with my audience's heart language?
And that's about way more than just literal translation, isn't it?
So much more. It's about cultural connection, contextual relevance. It's about realizing that your preferred way of communicating might actually be a barrier for someone else.
It really challenges the institutional rigidity you see so often. organizations get locked into the way we've always done it.
Precisely. For comfort, for efficiency. But if that one method doesn't reach people, then the message is effectively trapped. God modeled maximum flexibility here. He met them where they were.
And that idea of flexing the method leads perfectly into the crowd's reaction, because they had to flex their understanding of who was even qualified to speak.
Yes, the humility of the devout, as Pastor Chi calls it. I love that phrase.
It's great.
These are devout Jews, traveled for weeks, ready for a formal religious festival. They're expecting to hear from the established authorities, the learned rabbis, the men with the degrees.
And instead, who stands up? Galilean fishermen, a former tax collector, people with, by the standards of the day, zero formal credentials.
And this is a massive point. Normally, those travelers would have just dismissed them, based on social class, based on lack of certification, but they didn't.
Why?
Because, as Pastor Chi says, when God's power is genuinely at work, it transcends human credentials and social hierarchies.
That's such a powerful challenge to our own credential-obsessed culture.
It is. She implies that if you rely only on human structures, you're creating a filter. If those Jews had stuck to their expectation that only a rabbi could speak for God, they would have missed the single most important moment of their lives.
They listened because they recognized divine power, not institutional authority.
Exactly.
Wow. But here's the contrast, and it's a critical one. Even with this overwhelming supernatural event happening, not everyone saw a miracle.
No. Some people just saw intoxication.
This is the sobering idea of spiritual blindness.
While some are hearing God's works in their own language, others are just seeing chaos, and they jump to the easiest, most cynical conclusion. These men are full of new wine.
So two people can be in the exact same moment, witness the exact same event, and one sees a miracle and the other sees a mistake. Drunkenness.
And that is the core insight right there. The condition of our hearts determines what we perceive when God moves. It's a vital check for any leader, for anyone. If you're coming from a place of cynicism or self-protection, you can be standing in the middle of a massive movement and miss it completely.
Which is a reminder that the real work starts inside us, cultivating eyes to see and ears to hear.
Right, and for those who are open, we see this incredible transformation in Peter.
The pivot here is just monumental. This is the same Peter who, just weeks earlier, completely crumbled under pressure, denied Jesus 3 times out of fear.
Yeah, and now he stands up in front of this huge, diverse, politically charged crowd of thousands and just preaches with this supernatural boldness.
The text says he was filled with the Holy Spirit and endued with power, just as Jesus had promised.
And his sermon is masterful, the way he weaves together Old Testament prophecy with the immediate events of the resurrection.
That sourcing is so strategic. He quotes Joel 2, which says, "The Spirit will be poured out on all flesh, sons, daughters, servants, not just priests and kings."
Exactly. It validates the messy, non-hierarchical public nature of what they were all witnessing. He's saying this isn't chaos, this is fulfillment.
But he doesn't just stop with history. He exhibits what Pastor Chi calls spirit-led preaching that prioritizes truth over comfort.
Oh, he does not hold back. He looks at this crowd, a crowd that was complicit in Jesus' execution, and he says it plainly. You have taken by lawless hands, crucified, and put to death.
That is just uncompromising truth-telling, and the result was undeniable.
They were cut to the heart, and 3,000 people were added to the church that day.
Peter recognized that the Holy Spirit had already done the hard work in the audience. He had created a divine opportunity. Peter's job was just to step into it with boldness.
Which is such a challenge for modern leadership, right? Are we spiritually alert for those moments when God opens hearts? Or are we just trying to create our own opportunities with marketing and human effort?
When the door opens, you have to be ready to walk through it.
And that transformation, 3,000 new believers, it's huge. But it raises the next big strategic question for Pastor Chi. How do you sustain that?
Exactly. After the explosion, how do you manage the growth? And that's where the chapter gives us what she calls a blueprint for church health in Acts 2.42.
Right, the 4 foundational elements.
They are the apostles' doctrine and fellowship, in the breaking of bread, and in prayers.
And the distinction she makes here is so important. These weren't 6-week programs. They were lifestyle commitments that created an environment where new believers could grow and thrive.
Let's break that down, because for any organization, this is crucial. Doctrine isn't always popular, in a fast-paced environment. Why is it first?
Doctrine, or teaching, provides the foundation, stability. New members can't grow if they don't know what they believe. It guards against drift.
Okay, then fellowship.
Community. the safety net. It
Oh,
moves people from just being attendees to being actual participants. Then breaking bread reinforces that shared identity. And prayer, of course, reinforces their dependence on the divine source.
it's interesting to compare that to modern organizations that often skip these core things for, immediate action items.
Yeah.
We prioritize networking over real fellowship.
And we often prioritize what's trendy over what's foundational. That leads to burnout and instability. The genius of this blueprint is that it focuses on internal health, not external metrics.
And that leads to the ultimate shift in responsibility.
Yes, the result of doing these four things was that the Lord added to the church daily those who were being saved.
That is the mic drop moment for Pastor Chi.
It is. The principle is this. When the church operates according to God's design, growth becomes His responsibility, not our burden.
That just relieves so much pressure for any leader.
Our job is the health, the foundation, the community. The head count is His.
So as we wrap this up, the blueprint for breakthrough seems to rely on two big forces.
First, that combination of divine timing and human readiness. Unity, prayer, being prepared.
And second, the power of transformation we see in Peter's boldness, prioritizing truth, no matter how uncomfortable.
Exactly. We've seen how divine power transcends our human expectations, and we've analyzed the structure that lets a breakthrough last.
But we want to leave you with one final provocative thought, building on that idea of spiritual alertness.
How do you cultivate the sensitivity required to recognize, in your own specific world, when the Holy Spirit has created a divine opportunity in the hearts of the people around you?
That alertness, it demands an intentional seeking, a daily request for eyes to see and ears to hear what you're doing.
It means building the unity and the foundational commitments before the explosion happens, so you are ready to move when the time is fully come.
You can reflect on the prayer Pastor Chi offered, asking for the boldness to speak truth and the sensitivity to see when God is moving, instead of waiting for things to move on our schedule.
A powerful thought to end on.
We hope this deep dive has given you plenty to reflect on. We'll catch you on the next one.